So here we have our 3.5 ton recovery truck for sale. This is a Fiat Ducato. It's 4.5 years old, but it's actually only done 24,000 miles. So if I put the ignition on, we can see there's the mileage, 24,195 miles. That's genuine, of course, because I've had this truck since brand new. And what's that typically in a recovery truck? About 3 months driving. So yeah, consequently, this truck is still like new. So I'll quickly just run through what this truck has got. It's got the fantastic Pro Build body on, which I think is the best body for these trucks, with the folding ramps, which I'll show you that in a minute. It's got a spare wheel, it's got a winch, it's got deck lighting here, it's got side lighting here, which lights up your road beside the wheel there when you're manoeuvring, and it allows you to see where the back swings out. We've got marker lights on the back, we've got additional high powered reversing lights on the back so you can see what's behind you when you're manoeuvring in the dark. We've got a strap box there. Up on the roof we've got a beacon light, but this also incorporates side lights, brake lights and your indicators. And then inside, this has got the leather steering wheel with buttons on it as well, leather gear stick. These are all things that I added on afterwards. This has got air conditioning and cruise control down there. It's got the document holder here, also a phone holder in there if you want that, but I've got a phone holder here on a Brodit mount, so there's no holes in the dash. A pure DAB receiver here, which is an FM receiver, so I've programmed button 1 to receive that through the radios that's coming out the speakers. To be honest, this doesn't really work. It's got an antenna there on the screen, but it's not good enough. It really needs an antenna drilled up through the roof to make that work, so in reality this has been pretty useless. It's got a dash cam here, which I'll leave in the truck. That's excellent. Got cup holders down there on the floor, an additional cup holder here, a very thick full-size carpet mat, so there's absolutely no wear on the floor at all. Armrest there for the driver. I've also got the padded headrest on the outer seats. That's something I had to source from motorhomes for those. And this has also got the MAD air suspension, so we've got the dials here and then airbags there on the rear wheels on the suspension there. Because this has only done 24,000 miles, I doubt you'll ever find one that's in such good condition and such low mileage. This is genuinely still like a new truck. There's a couple of little stone chips on the front, which I'll show you in a minute, but they're absolutely minor. This has also had 2 oil changes already as well, even though they weren't needed. I think the first one we did at about 6,000 miles, but I'll show you that in a minute. But yeah, it's a bit of a unusual truck, this one, being such low mileage and having the extras, and these Pro Build bodies I think are the best in the business. So this is the 2.3 diesel, 130 brake horsepower and 6-speed manual on this, and this does not have AdBlue. So this was one of the last of the Ducatos before they brought in the AdBlue, and that's why I bought this one, because the AdBlue is only going to add complexity and add weight as well. So the payload on this is as light as you can get on a 3.5 ton truck. Obviously I've added a few extras like the spare wheel, which is going to reduce the payload, but when I was looking for a 3.5 ton truck I had no intentions of buying a Fiat, but when you start looking at them, the Fiat chassis cab is the lightest in the business, so obviously you're going to get the better payload, and these are the same as the Peugeot and Citroën, the Boxer and the Relay, but those have a different engine. And when you look at these vehicles, the Fiat Ducato does have the best engine out of those 3. So now let's just explain the body on this, because this is obviously the most important part of the van, and this is from Pro Build Transport Systems, and I chose their body because I think they make the best recovery body for 3.5 ton vehicles. And they're a bit different to the other bodybuilders because they only make this one product. They just make this transport body. So it's been refined over the years, whereas a lot of the other bodybuilders, they make all sorts of box vans and all sorts of drop side bodies and things. but I think a lot more thought has gone into this ProBuild body than a lot of the others. So the main difference is, obviously it's a beaver tail, but this has a much shallower angle, so you don't have that sharp angle there, so you can load lower vehicles much easier. And instead, rather than having very long straight ramps, they've got folding ramps, so your approach angle is put into the ramps rather than on the beaver tail. It's also mounted flat on the chassis as well, so it's as low as it possibly can be, and consequently I've no problem at all putting very low vehicles onto this. So let's show you these. So these ramps are also locked down as well, so they're not going to get nicked while you're in the motorway services. This was an extra. Actually went back to them a second time to get them to add the lock. So that keeps them down, as well as the ratchet strap here. So that's how they work, and they work very well. And I've got the anti-slip material on the steeper part of the ramps, and also there as well. That's not standard, but this body is slightly different to others because I wanted to load narrow vehicles. So this was so I could load Renault Twizzes on here, and we've got extra strap down holes as well on here. We've also got plates here, and the ramps slide in under there so they can't lift up and kick back when you're loading. And then you've got two aluminium checker plates which are at the right places where you park your wheels when you're loading, so you've got no issues of knowing how far to go, so you don't need a chocker or any metal bar up there protecting the cab. You just look out the window, see when the centre of the tyre is in the middle of the checker plate, and you're loaded properly. And as you can see, this has got holes in the body to put your ratchet straps in, to put the hooks in, and I much preferred this idea than having tie down loops because they just rattle as you're driving and cause excessive noise. So when you're handling these ramps, they are a bit heavier than normal ramps because obviously there's more material in them, but then they're shorter when they're folded, so they're a bit easier to handle. And this is a stainless steel lock which isn't going to rust. So next, the air suspension, because this has got airbags on the leaf springs, as you can see, and the point of that is when you've got a heavy load on, you can pump them up and push the leaf spring back round to a curve, and then the truck doesn't look overweight. And the compressor for that is down there inside the cab, and then you've got the controls here, so we've got a switch there which then blows the suspension up, and then you've got your pressure gauges here so you can see the pressure in either airbag, and then you've got your release valves here to let the air out. So this is a better system than some other similar vans have fitted. Some of them you've got to plug the compressor in and pump them up manually, as it were. You don't have this in-cab control, so consequently they stay blown up all the time. At least with these you can release the pressure and run the bags nearly empty when you're driving unloaded, which makes the vehicle more comfortable, and then when you've got a vehicle loaded you can then blow it up, and obviously do all of this inside the cab with the vehicle on the back and monitor the pressure and get it right, and obviously make your adjustments while you're driving. And then here we've got switches for the additional lighting, so I'll just turn all those on. And then we've got deck lights here which obviously shine light along the decks. We've got lighting here which light up around the axles, which helps when you're reversing. And then got these additional reversing lights. These are very bright, and then I'll set them up to light up here so you can then see what's around you in your rear view mirror rather than actually seeing what's behind you, because if you've got a vehicle on the bed then you're not going to see behind you. So those are more about seeing what's around the side when you're manoeuvring. So with the hazards on, we can then see the beacon at the top integrates your indicators, your brake lights and your side lights. So I got that one because when you've got the ramps on at the back and you're loading, they do cover up your side lights. So just having those additional red lights at the top are really handy if you don't want to go all out and have all the flashing beacons. The controller for the beacons are here, and you can have the LEDs on the front or the rear or both, and you can change the pattern. However, I don't use this, and the on and off switch stays stuck down when you switch it on. It's probably because of lack of use. But anyway, the button is here. It all still works, but with the button in, when you push it on, it sort of sticks in there and you can't turn it off, so you have to take it apart to get the button out. So it still works. I've got some pliers here, and when it's on, when I want to take it off, I pull the switch back, and then that allows you to turn it off. So it's a bit of a bod, but I never use it. But I suspect you'll be able to buy a new controller unit there. There's very little in it. I've got a picture in the photo gallery if you want to see what's inside, or you could just solder a new switch on the circuit board. Or you do the same. It works, but it's just a bit of a pain. Under here is the winch under this custom made cover I've had made, which will hopefully last longer than the original one because the UV light ruined that. And this is a Warrior winch, and it is £8,000 one with a steel rope. We've got our on and off isolator switch here, and then up here is the connector to connect it up to the controller. But I've also got a wireless one as well, so you can keep this in your hand and sit inside the vehicle that you're loading. This has had a very little use, and as you can see, the cable is all still like new, and it's always been covered as well, so it's never been open to the elements. If you had no use for this and didn't run it on the truck to save a bit of weight, then I can remove it and knock some money off. And then under here is a spare wheel, all brand new tyre, never been used. I mounted it on a checker plate here. Again, I've got a custom cover keeping that dry and clean. And then under the passenger seat here, got a genuine Ducato toolkit there with the brace and the jack and things to change your spare wheel. So the spare and the toolkit doesn't come with the chassis cabs when you buy them new. I've added all of this afterwards, but of course it all adds weight and reduces your payload, but it was a bit too risky to be driving without a spare. Some people take the seats out, passenger seats out, and drive without spares to maximise the payload. So I'm sure the question you want to know is, what's the payload of this truck? And to be honest, I don't know. I genuinely don't know how much this truck weighs. I've never found out. I prefer to be sort of a bit ignorant to it and to obviously not push it. But as far as 3.5 ton trucks go, this is the lightest chassis cab, and it's a particularly light body as well. So this is as good as you're going to get. But obviously the spare wheel, the winch, the tools all add weight. Some people take the passenger seats out as well to increase the payload, so it could be improved, but for a 3.5 ton you're not going to get better than a Fiat Ducato and a Pro body, to be honest. So here's the paperwork. I've got 2 keys as well. Again, these only came with 1 key when I bought it, so I had to have a key made afterwards. But we've got the original books and service history. Let's just show you that, because we've done 2 services on there on this. So one was done at 5,900 miles, that was an oil change. Another done at 20,000 miles, that was oil and all the filters. So that's all that's been done. It did also go in for a warranty job some years ago now. There was an issue with brakes or something, but this one wasn't affected by it, so it was all good. So the V5 here, as you can see, 0 previous keepers because I had this since new. And then this is a Euro 6B vehicle, and this doesn't have the AdBlue, as I said, so it is ULEZ compliant. And then it has had 2 MOTs. First MOT at 19,589 miles, passed fine. Second MOT a year ago at 21,595 miles. There were 2 advisories, tyres and the park brake. So the parking brake, handbrake, was a little bit different on either side. So it passed, but have since done that and readjusted the brake cable, so that all works fine now. This is due an MOT in the middle of June, which is now, time of filming this is a month's time. So obviously I'll get a new MOT done on it before this goes, but obviously it's going to fly through an MOT because it's only done about 3,500 miles since this last one. So next, the tyres, because they put an advisory on the last MOT that the front tyres were getting low. Well, those front tyres are now on the back, because they were getting a little bit low, but they're not really low enough to be an MOT advisory, I don't think. But anyway, they are 5.2. Oh, hang on, 4.8. Let's get in the middle. Yeah, they're 5mm. So not really an MOT advisory, because then you start with 7.5 to 8mm. And obviously your legal limit's 1.6. Let's just do this side. So this side is 4.5mm. Yeah, let's do the middle again. Yeah, so this outside edge, 4.6. Yeah, so anything between about 4.4 and 4.6mm. So those were the driving wheels. So these were the rears, and these are much better. 6.1, 6.3, 7.1. Hang on, there's the middle. Yeah, 7.2, 6.7. Then this side, 7mm, 7, 6.8. Yeah, so 6.7 to 6.8 at worst on the front. And obviously these are the original tyres. They're Continentals, no punches or repairs in them either, and still a lot of life in them. So next, the strap box here. It's a Daikin one. It does have locks on both latches as well, and this is just about big enough to get 4 straps in there. So the box is staying, but I'm keeping the straps. Just go back to the lighting. This doesn't have the LED daytime running lights at the front. It does have running lights, but they're a traditional bulb because the LEDs were very new back then and a very expensive option. But your reflectors along the side are actually marker lights with LEDs in each one, so they're all lit. And then the marker lights at the back are 3-colour, all LED. And actually you can see, I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but we've got the side lights up there on the roof as well. In the middle seat here, it's also got a drop down sort of table here with a bit of a cup holder arrangement there, and also a clip there for holding paperwork. So obviously, because this has only done 24,000 miles since new, it's still like a new vehicle. The air conditioning's ice cold, everything works without any fault or errors, and I've obviously got it running now. But if I push the button on the end of the stalk there, and I'll look at the average consumption, it's averaging 29.3 miles per gallon. So that's with a mixture of loaded and unloaded driving, so roughly 50-50. So what I find, this does about 35-36 miles per gallon when it's empty, and when it's loaded it's doing something like 24-25 miles per gallon, but it's averaging in total at 29.3 there. Another little addition I put in this truck is this additional power sockets here. So you got your normal cigarette 12-volt socket there, but this gives an additional 2 USB ports, which allows you to charge your phone or whatever, or anything else you want to plug in, of course. But it's also got a voltmeter display in there, so if I just put the ignition on, it allows you to check the voltage of your battery, which is quite handy. And then obviously when it's started and running, you can check the voltage of the alternator and check that it's charging okay. This has also got these excellent mirror protectors on as well. These ones are particularly good ones. They're padded and shock absorbed inside, made from the same material as crash helmets. And this has been on ever since it was new, and I've hit this mirror quite a few times and it's survived and absorbed everything. It works really well. When this truck was only about 3 or 4 days old, I did hit a branch in a hedgerow and smash the original mirror. So I did have to replace the mirror when the truck was only a few days old, which was very annoying, and that's when I then sourced these and put these on. This mirror is new behind it as well, an original one. But yeah, these work incredibly well, and they're only available for the Fiat Ducato because they're made for the motorhome market. Obviously you can get protectors for other vehicles, but they're not as good as these ones. These ones work really well. Occasionally they do have to be stuck back down about every year or two. They've fallen off and I have to re-stick them back on. They sort of clamp on, hold themselves on, but they've got number plate sticky pads under there which just give a bit of additional security. But yeah, they really are a worthwhile accessory. Also got these mud flaps which have been on since new. They're not particularly good ones, they don't sit particularly flush because the clamp is sort of squeezing that, but have also mounted rubber behind so the metal clamp here isn't clamping against the metal work there, so that won't rust. And then that's something else which is additional on this body. Got some aluminium mud guards on there with additional rubber down there, which that's something that ProBuild don't do as standard on their bodies either. So I think I've pretty much covered everything except the condition. So there really isn't much to show you on this because it is all dent free, scratch free, still like new. There's just a few little stone chips on the front. So there's 3 there which have got a little bit of white painting. There's some very tiny ones there. This actually had vinyl on, that's where the stone chip had gone through the vinyl. So the vinyl did a very good job of protecting the paintwork. So there's one there, that's dead flies. That's a fly, that's a fly. And was there one here somewhere? Yeah, one there, one there. All really small, not down to the metalwork, all really tiny. And there's a tiny little scratch. Is it a scratch or is that dead flies? No, it's a scratch, tiny little scratch there in that silver plastic trim there. But yeah, it's all in really nice condition. No chips in the windscreen at all. This is still an original windscreen. If I'm being super picky, which obviously I am, there is a slight dent there. Not sure whether you can see that. And that's just where I smashed that mirror when it was new. There's a little indentation in the bodywork there, but you'd be hard pushed to see that. Just noticed 2 other tiny little marks. You can tell I'm being super picky here for a commercial vehicle. 2 little chips there on the fuel filler door. This is plastic, so obviously that's not going to rust. And we can see there, no AdBlue. And then inside, everything still looks like new. And you can see there, close up of the seat. All in really nice condition. So I think I've covered everything. If there's anything else you need to know, then give me a call or email. All the details are on the website, including a photo gallery where you can look at all the pictures and zoom in and have a good look in detail. This is ready to go now. It's not going to be used. Obviously I've got to get that MOT done, but I'll leave that until nearer the renewal date, unless it's sold and you want it done, or you can just go and get it done yourself. And obviously this is going to fly through the MOT without any issues. So all the details on the website. Give me a call or email if you're interested. And yeah, that will do. Okie doke. Bye now.